Hello everyone, welcome to our channel. Here's a question I ask every HR team I work with. When does the employee experience actually begin? Most people say day one. Their first morning, the laptop, the welcome email. It doesn't. It begins long before that. The moment somebody reads your job ad, or hears about your company from a friend who works there. And it doesn't end on their last day either. What we're looking at across this series is the employee lifecycle. 9 stages, from the first time someone hears your name to long after they've left. Today is part 1, the first 5 stages. Attraction, recruitment, onboarding, engagement, development, everything that happens while you're still winning someone over. Part 2 covers the other 4, video of it will be out later this week. Let's begin with stage 1. Here's where we are in 2026. Gallup surveys millions of employees across the planet, and their latest report found that just 20% of employees are engaged at work. 1 in 5, and the price tag on that disengagement is estimated at around $10 trillion a year, roughly 9% of global GDP. Now here's the part most people miss. The steepest decline isn't among regular employees. It's among managers, down from 31% in 2022 to 22% now. And only 12% of employees strongly agree their company does a great job of onboarding them. Look at those 3 numbers together and a pattern appears. These aren't random failures. They're failures at specific, predictable moments in a person's journey through a company. Which is exactly what the employee lifecycle model helps you see. Let's talk money for a second, because that's the language that gets budget approved. Both Gallup and SHRM put the cost of replacing one employee at somewhere between 50% and 200% of their annual salary. For a frontline role, it's at the lower end. For a manager or a specialist, you're often looking at the full 200%, because you're paying for the recruitment, the vacancy, the ramp-up time, the lost knowledge, and the extra load on everyone who stayed. Now put that next to this. The Work Institute's 2025 report found that around 75% of departures were preventable. And Gallup found 52% of people who left said their organization could have done something to keep them. Preventable. That word is the whole reason this model exists. Because you can't prevent something if you can't see where it breaks. Here's the definition in plain English. The employee lifecycle is a model that maps every stage of a person's relationship with your organization, starting before they ever apply, and continuing after they've left. Now I want to be straight with you about something, because you'll see other versions of this online. There is no official governing body for the number of stages. Some sources say 5, some say 6 or 7, some say 13. They're not contradicting each other, they're describing the same journey at different levels of zoom. I'm using 9 because 9 pulls apart the moments that usually get blurred together. Onboarding and integration are not the same thing. Engagement and performance are not the same thing. And blurred stages are exactly where problems go to hide. One more thing. This is a loop, not a straight line. Because how someone leaves you directly feeds stage 1, your reputation. Keep that in your head as we go. Here's the whole model on one screen. Stage 1, employer branding and attraction. Stage 2, recruitment and selection. Stage 3, onboarding. Stage 4, orientation and integration. Stage 5, engagement. Stage 6, performance management. Stage 7, learning and development. Stage 8, retention and recognition. And stage 9, offboarding and alumni. If you take one screenshot from this whole video, make it this one. Now let's go through them one at a time, and for each stage I'll give you what it actually is, what good looks like, and the one metric that tells you whether it's working. Before we go stage by stage, I want to show you why this matters in practice. On the left is how most organizations still operate. People get handled at 3 moments: when they're hired, when they're reviewed, and when they quit. HR owns the experience. Onboarding means paperwork. Exits are admin. And the only number anyone tracks is turnover percentage, usually once a year, usually too late. On the right is life cycle thinking. 9 designed moments instead of 3 accidental ones. Managers own the experience and HR builds the system that supports them. Onboarding is a 90-day path, not a welcome email. Exits become intelligence. And every stage has its own metric, its own owner, and its own target. Same budget. Stage 1. Employer branding and attraction. This is your reputation before anyone applies. And here's the thing most people get wrong. You already have an employer brand. You don't get to choose whether you have one. You only get to choose whether you shape it. It lives in your careers page, in review sites, in what your employees say at dinner parties when someone asks, "So what's it like where you work?" What does good look like here? Honest and specific. And I mean that. A slightly unglamorous but true employer brand beats a beautifully polished false one every single time. Because the truth surfaces in month 2 anyway, and now you've also lost trust. Think about a hospital hiring nurses. One posts a generic, "Join our caring team," advert. The other posts a short, unscripted video of a nurse describing what an actual shift looks like, the hard parts included. The second one gets fewer applicants, and better ones, because people self-select before they ever reach the interview. And that matters financially, because SHRM's 2025 benchmarking puts the average cost per hire at around $5,500 for a non-executive role, and nearly $36,000 for an executive. Every mis-hire you avoid at stage 1 is money you never have to spend. Stage 2. Recruitment and selection. And I want you to notice this stage runs in both directions. While you're assessing the candidate, they are absolutely assessing you, your responsiveness, your clarity, whether you turn up to the interview having actually read their CV. What does good look like? Structure. Decades of research in industrial and organizational psychology point the same direction. Structured interviews, where every candidate gets the same questions scored against a defined rubric, predict job performance substantially better than a free-flowing chat. Add a realistic work sample where you can. A support team that swaps, "Tell me about yourself," for a 30-minute live ticket handling exercise learns more in half an hour than 4 unstructured interviews would tell them. And the candidate finds out whether they'd actually enjoy the work. Now the trap here: culture fit. When culture fit means, "I like them," it's a gut feel veto, and it reliably smuggles in bias. You end up hiring people who remind you of you. Define the specific behaviors the role genuinely needs, and assess those instead. One more thing people forget: measure the experience of the candidates you rejected. They talk, and they are customers. Stage 3. Onboarding. If you only fix one stage, fix this one. It has the highest leverage in the entire model. And the data here is genuinely bleak. Gallup found only 12% of employees strongly agree their organization does a great job of onboarding. And after they've been through it, only 29% feel fully prepared and supported to excel in the role. So 7 out of 10 people finish onboarding still not sure what good looks like in their own job. Here's the distinction that fixes most of it. Orientation is an event, it's the tour, the paperwork, the fire exits. Onboarding is a process, and it runs for months. Most companies do a one-day orientation, call it onboarding, and wonder why people flounder. Good onboarding starts the day the offer is signed. The laptop works on day 1. Someone is expecting them by name. And there's a genuinely brilliant example of how cheap this can be. Google ran an experiment where they emailed the hiring manager a 5-item checklist the Sunday night before a new person started. Just 5 things. Have a role and responsibilities discussion, match them with a peer buddy, help them build a social network, set up monthly check-ins for 6 months, and encourage them to ask questions. New hires whose managers acted on that list reached full effectiveness about 25% faster. That's from Laszlo Bock's book Work Rules, published in 2015. So it's not new, but the lesson holds. 1 email, 25%. Stage 4. Orientation and integration, roughly days 30 to 90. This is the shift from, "I have a job here," to, "I belong here," and those are very different things. What actually drives it? 3 things. Role clarity. Do they know what good performance looks like in specific terms? Relationships. Do they know people outside their immediate team? And an early win, a real piece of work they own and complete, because competence is what converts anxiety into confidence. Here's a small thing with a big effect: give every new hire a buddy who is not their manager. Because there's a whole category of question people will never ask their boss. Is it actually okay to log off at 5? Does anyone really read these reports? What does that acronym mean? Those unwritten rules are exactly what causes quiet early attrition. People don't leave because the work is too hard, they leave because they never stopped feeling like a guest. And be careful about the biggest trap in this stage: assuming silence means everything is fine. New people almost never volunteer that they're lost. They perform certainty. You have to go and ask. Worth remembering: Gallup finds it typically takes around 12 months for someone to reach their full performance potential in a role. Integration doesn't finish at day 30. Stage 5. Engagement. And I need to clear something up, because this word gets butchered. Engagement is not happiness. It's not satisfaction. And it is definitely not perks. Gallup defines it as involvement and enthusiasm in your work. Here's the picture that makes it click. You can have a warehouse team with free snacks, a ping-pong table and a beanbag corner, and they are miserable and quietly job hunting. And you can have a team with none of that, whose manager runs a genuine weekly one-to-one, and they are thriving. Perks are visible. Engagement is relational, and that's why the single biggest lever here is the manager. Gallup's research consistently finds that managers account for around 70% of the variance in team engagement. 70%, which, by the way, explains the number from the start of this video. Manager engagement falling to 22% isn't just one bad statistic, it's the leading indicator for everyone else's. Now, the trap. Survey theater. Running an engagement survey, publishing a slide deck, and changing nothing. That is worse than never asking, because you've now formally demonstrated that speaking up leads nowhere. If you can't act on it, don't ask it yet. That's the first half of the model. 5 stages. Attraction, recruitment, onboarding, engagement, development. If you take one thing from today, take this. These 5 stages are sequential, and they're load-bearing. A weak stage doesn't stay contained. It shows up as a problem 3 stages later, wearing a different costume. Bad onboarding gets reported as an engagement problem. A vague job ad gets reported as a hiring problem. So here's your homework, and it's a real one. Look at your own organization and pick the weakest of these 5. Not the one that's loudest, the weakest. Part 2 is next: performance, retention, exit, and alumni. Subscribe so it finds you, and if a manager on your team is currently firefighting one of these 5, send this to them. See you.